Hello everyone, and welcome to today's editorial analysis. If you are preparing for upcoming exams like SBI PO, IBPS Clerk, LIC, or SSC, this session is designed to help you strengthen your English section. Today, we are going to read and analyze an editorial that discusses the recent anti-conversion laws passed in Maharashtra and Chhattisgarh. It is a nuanced passage that touches upon constitutional rights, state legislation, and individual freedom. In this session, we will break down the complex sentences, examine the author's core arguments, and isolate the vocabulary and idioms that are most likely to appear in your exams. Please keep your notebooks ready, and let's begin our analysis. Alright, now that we have established the context and the main idea of today's editorial, let's move on to a very scoring area for your exams. First up is misleadingly. This is an adverb, and it means giving the wrong idea or impression, doing something deceptively. In the context of our passage, the author argues that these new laws misleadingly claim to protect freedom. For your synonyms, remember words like deceptively and falsely. The antonyms would be honestly or accurately. Our second word is disclosure. It's a noun that refers to the action of making new or secret information known to the public. The passage mentions that the laws require a public disclosure of one's intention to convert. Synonyms you might see in options are revelation or declaration, while concealment and secrecy are its direct antonyms. Moving on to the third word, chaotic. This is an adjective describing a state of complete confusion and lack of order. The author strongly states that testing a person's faith is a leap into chaotic darkness. Good synonyms here are tumultuous and disorderly, whereas organized and systematic are the exact opposites. The fourth term is a very important noun for reading comprehension, high-handedness. It means using authority without considering the feelings or rights of others, basically, an arbitrary or heavy-handed use of power. The editorial warns that policing someone's faith will inevitably lead to state high-handedness. Note down arrogance and autocracy as synonyms, and humility or fairness as antonyms. Next, we have the adverb invariably. This simply means in every case, or on every occasion, always. The author says such policing will invariably lead to high-handedness. Synonyms include constantly or unfailingly. The antonyms are rarely, occasionally, or seldom. Finally, our sixth word is purportedly. This is a great adverb meaning as it appears or is stated to be true, though not necessarily proven. Let's continue with the second half of our vocabulary list from today's editorial. Please keep making notes as these words are highly relevant for your upcoming exams. Our next word is intrusive. This is an adjective, and it means causing disruption or annoyance by being unwelcome or invading one's privacy. The author describes the new legal provisions as harsh, intrusive, and authoritarian. For synonyms, you should look for words like invasive, prying, or interfering. Its antonyms would be unobtrusive, low-key, or reserved. Closely following that is our next adjective, authoritarian. It refers to enforcing strict obedience to authority at the expense of personal freedom. Synonyms to note down are dictatorial, tyrannical, and oppressive. The exact opposites, or antonyms, are democratic, liberal, and lenient. Moving on, we have a very important noun for legal and formal texts, purview. It simply means the scope of the influence, operation, or concerns of a law or document. The passage mentions that the Chhattisgarh legislation exempts reconversion to one's ancestral religion from its purview. Important synonyms to remember are scope, extent, ambit, and jurisdiction. Antonyms include exclusion, limitation, and restriction. Next up is premised. Used here, it means based on a particular idea, argument, or theory. The editorial argues that these anti-conversion laws are premised on a lack of individual agency. Synonyms you should be familiar with are based, founded, and predicated. The antonyms are unsupported, baseless, or unfounded. Now, pay very close attention to our next noun, agency. I want to highlight this because examiners love testing it. In standard English, an agency is a business or organization. However, the contextual meaning here is human agency. The capacity of individuals to act independently and make their own free choices. The author claims these laws assume a lack of agency in the individual. Synonyms for this specific contextual meaning are autonomy, volition, and free will. The opposites would be subjugation, dependence, or helplessness. Finally, we have the noun propagation. This means the widespread sharing, multiplying, or spreading of a belief, idea, or theory. The passage talks about the propagation of religion as a constitutionally guaranteed right. Note down synonyms like dissemination, spreading, and broadcasting. For antonyms, look out for suppression, containment, or hiding in your options. Make sure to review these words carefully, especially agency and purview, as they frequently appear in reading comprehension passages. Let's move forward and tackle the idioms and phrases used in the text. Let's swiftly move on to the key idioms and phrases from today's passage. Pay close attention, as these are prime targets for your phrase replacement and fill-in-the-blank questions. First, we have leap into darkness. This is a classic idiom meaning to take a highly risky, uncertain step without knowing the outcome. The author uses it to highlight the unpredictability of legally testing something as personal as faith. Next, you will see high-handedness and purportedly. We just covered these in our vocabulary section, but look at how they function as phrases in context, highlighting overbearing authority and doubtful claims, respectively. Number 3 is serve narrow interests. This is a powerful phrase used in critical RC passages. It means acting for the benefit of a small, select group rather than the greater good. Now, jump to number 6, shift the burden, specifically, shifting the burden of proof. Please star this one. It is a highly frequent legal phrase in banking exams. It means moving the responsibility of proving a claim from the accuser directly onto the accused. Finally, phrases like disturb social order and no different from are structural tools the author uses to emphasize chaos and draw direct comparisons. Take a quick screenshot or jot these down. Understanding these phrases as single units of meaning will dramatically increase your reading speed. Now, let's move on to the next segment. Alright, the final piece of our language analysis today focuses on phrasal verbs. These are absolutely crucial for your cloze tests, fill-in-the-blanks, and error spotting sections. Let's go through them swiftly. First is join in. It simply means to participate or become a part of a group or activity. In our passage, Maharashtra and Chhattisgarh join in with other states in imposing these restrictions. Next, we have lead to, meaning to cause or result in a specific outcome. The author warns that attempting to police faith will invariably lead to state high-handedness. Pay close attention to the preposition to here. Examiners often try to trick you by changing it in error-spotting questions. Number 3 is set out. This means to state a plan, explain an intention, or start a task. The editorial critiques what these laws purportedly set out to achieve versus what they actually do. Moving to the next column, we have give up. A very common phrasal verb meaning to surrender or relinquish something. The context here is the concern that individuals might have to give up their freedom of faith. Fifth is come into, which is frequently used in the phrase come into effect. It means to enter a situation or become relevant and active. And finally, carry out. This means to properly perform or execute a task or duty. For example, the designated authorities or police may carry out an inquiry if objections are raised against a conversion. Make sure you clearly understand the difference between set out, the intention, and carry out, the execution, as they are classic confusing options in multiple choice questions. Please jot these down, review the examples, and let's move forward. Alright everyone, now that we are armed with the vocabulary and idioms, let's jump straight into reading the passage. I will read through this first paragraph line by line, and we will break down exactly what the author is trying to convey. Pay attention to how the author builds their argument. This is crucial for answering inference questions in your exams. Legislation passed by Maharashtra and Chhattisgarh recently on religious conversions misleadingly claims to protect freedom of religion but effectively does the opposite. Laws made by both states restrict the individual freedom of faith through requirements of prior permission from the state, public disclosure, and by shifting the burden of proof to the accused. These states now join at least 10 others in having detailed legal restrictions on an individual's right to practice and profess any religion of their choice. It is true that the state has a duty to protect all citizens from force and fraud. But when that principle is applied to test whether a person's religious faith is an outcome of criminal force or fraud, it is a leap into chaotic darkness even with the best of intentions. What goes on in a person's mind, such as matters of faith, is not accessible to another person in its entirety, and any attempt to police faith will invariably lead to high-handedness. A batch of petitions challenging these laws has been pending before the Supreme Court of India, and the final status of the new laws in Maharashtra and Chhattisgarh will also be linked to the final determination of the constitutionality of such laws by the court. Meanwhile, the laws will disturb social order and harmony, achieving the exact opposite of what they purportedly set out to do. The provisions are harsh, intrusive, and authoritarian. Under the Maharashtra law, a person intending to convert must give 60 days notice and seek prior permission from a designated authority. Conversion must be registered within 25 days, or it will be treated as null and void. The authority will publish the notice locally, including at the relevant Gram Panchayat, inviting objections within 30 days. If objections are received, the authority may direct police to conduct an inquiry. The Chhattisgarh legislation also has similar provisions, but additionally exempts reconversion to one's ancestral religion from its purview. Even community religious gatherings can attract provisions of the Chhattisgarh law, which replaces a 1968 law made by undivided Madhya Pradesh. Anti-conversion laws are premised on a lack of agency of the individual and driven by an ideological framework that links nationality to faith. In a less passionate and more reasonable framing, a person's change of faith is no different from their decision to change their passport, political affiliation, or place of residence, all of which are legal. In any case, religions have no basis in verifiable scientific facts, and propagation of religion, a constitutionally guaranteed right, can easily be misrepresented as fraud. By seeking to resolve a problem that does not exist, the Bharatiya Janata Party is serving only its own narrow political interests. Alright everyone, to wrap up today's editorial analysis, let's zoom out and look at the grand summary. Central theme: the passage strongly criticizes the new anti-conversion laws introduced in Maharashtra and Chhattisgarh, arguing that they infringe upon individual religious freedom rather than protecting it. Key points. First, intrusive provisions. The laws impose harsh restrictions on changing one's faith, requiring mandatory prior state permission, public disclosure, inviting objections, and shifting the burden of proof onto the accused. Second, state overreach. The author argues that personal faith is a matter of the mind and individual agency. Attempting to police it invites state high-handedness and disturbs social harmony. Third, ideological motives. The legislation assumes individuals lack the capacity to make their own choices, lack of agency, and is driven by an ideology that improperly links nationality to religion. Conclusion. Changing one's faith should be as ordinary as changing one's residence. The author concludes that these laws are designed to solve a non-existent problem solely to serve the narrow political interests of the ruling party, while their constitutional validity remains pending before the Supreme Court. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in and stayed till the end. I hope this session added solid value to your exam preparation. Remember, mastering reading comprehension and vocabulary isn't a one-day job. It comes from consistent, daily reading and analysis just like we did today. If you found today's class helpful, please hit the like button, share this video with your fellow aspirants, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you never miss an update. Keep reading, keep practicing, and stay focused on your goals. I will see you all in the next session. Have a fantastic day ahead, and all the very best for your preparations.